Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode here on the Metal Stallion Show. Thank you so much for coming and spending some time with me today. I'm trying to think if we have any sort of administrative stuff that we need to cover. I don't think so. I think so. We had a little bit of a delay on the weekly morning show, The Walks with Matt. That just came out. I think it actually would have just gotten published this morning. So there's a quick little, I think it was about 15-minute tidbit, and that was really fun because I took the dogs out for a walk, and this is for anyone who watches the videos and is up on the YouTube channel and everything. This is not news because you guys are aware. This is much more for the podcast audience because these walks with Matt do not get published to the audio only podcast. So for those of you out there on audio only, if you want a little bit more of what we're doing here, then I do this twice a week, and the other ones are a little bit shorter, and it's just kind of it's a little bit more personal, I guess, a little bit less official, not in the studio and everything with the multiple cameras. Hello over there too. and we're continuing to expand and try to build this thing out and make it as good as possible for you guys, so you have a little bit better viewing experience. But yeah, I brought the dogs out. That was a lot of fun because I took the dogs out for a walk, and I had a couple of kind of revelations, I guess you could say. That's probably too strong. I had a couple of thoughts that were interesting when it came to kind of like how we proceed along our path and everything, and how we act and how we deal with kind of discomfort versus being in the unknown. And I thought about that when I was walking the dogs because of some things that they were doing, and it was interesting, and so I just kind of tied that all together. It was cool because I took them out. We got the second lot of land back out behind us with this cool trail that connects our two lots, and so it's really fun. I like going out there, and I like going out there anyway, and so bringing you guys out there with me on kind of like the trail and the path and everything is a lot of fun. And I'm working to make some upgrades there too, to some of the audio quality. I've got this fancy little dancy microphone here. It's like a Movo, M-O-V-O is the name. It's got this little soft bunny fuzz cap, just like here on the mic, but this one's like the little fuzz ball. But yeah, there you go. Here you go. It's got this little clip. It's like two pieces right there. I'm trying to catch. There you go. You can kind of see it a little bit. But yeah, so it's just that, and it'll come with little adapters and stuff that you can do to plug into your phone. And so I'm going to give this a shot. I was playing with. I've had this actually for a really long time, and I have one of those. Oh gosh, there's probably a fancy name for a gimbal. Like one of the handheld, it'll rotate and kind of track you with the phone kind of stuff. And so I'm trying to get even those walks upgraded, right? I want to provide you guys with a good professional feel here, and I figure if we're going to be talking about stuff, we may as well remove as many barriers to you receiving the content and enjoying the content as possible, because I think that's a big part of any process, and especially as from my perspective, trying to get these ideas out and have them digested and actually change people's lives. I think it's really important to if that really is my goal, then it is of utmost paramount importance to really, just try to make sure that there's nothing external going on that would stop or inhibit the reception, the intake of the information. And so So all of this is kind of efforts to do that, to make it a little bit better and keep increasing the quality. And it's great because they're coming out with, and they've had so many products for so long that really do make it possible to give a more of a professional feel for like low budget studios and stuff and production. It's fantastic for people like me that we don't have hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to invest in everything, you know. And so, but we don't need it. So you can look here, you can see it's not bad. It's not a bad setup, right? So it's working. Anyway, now that we've made it through a bit of our administrative stuff and kind of talking a little bit about the Walks with Matt show, again, thank you for coming here and spending some time with me on Real Resilience here on the Matt LaStalia show. So today I actually had a thought. I'm trying to think. It was actually the next day. So I had this revelationary thoughts with the dogs on a walk. The next day, I went out to the gym. We got the gym out in the garage, and that is I tell you what, man, that's a challenge in and of itself, because right now, let's see, it's 2:45 in the afternoon, and it's 41 degrees, and that's like as warm as she's gonna get today. And so, for me, my ideal schedule, if I'm tripping the light fantastic, then I am out of bed at around 5:30, and I will kind of go through a little morning routine, like getting like the coffee and getting the dogs out and getting them fed and taking them out. And then if I had everything the way that I wanted, then I would go straight out to the gym and work out. Now, probably the biggest inhibitor to that happening is the fact that it's freezing cold, and then in the garage, it's separated from the house. But the thing is, like, I've even tried to reduce the barriers to that. You know, like I've got this big cylinder propane heater out there and an electric heater, and so really, once you get out there and you get those turned on, you're good to go. But there's still the barrier of getting from the house to there. With that motivation to do that. And so that's still what I'm working on, man. So like all of us, we're all, works in progress. But I will say that that day, I had, I got out there. I wasn't in the morning, so I got there in the afternoon, and it was a beautiful day. Ish. I'll say it was beautiful in the garage once I got all the heaters kicking. So I got out to the garage, and I got a really good workout in. It was actually really funny. On this day, I was working out. I was focusing on weightlifting, which has been the majority of my workouts. But I promise this is all going somewhere that's like relevant to Real Resilience. So I was doing chest, biceps, triceps, kind of like portions of the upper body. I either have like 2 upper body days and a lower body day, and then I try to walk every day. So I try to take the dogs out. Although we did just find a trick. It's a trick for us. For me, it was always like, we walk the dogs. Every day I'm going to walk the dogs. And we took them out for a 3.5 mile walk. That's actually when I had the revelation with the dogs that inspired the most recent Walk with Matt show. But then we took the dogs out. We had got this kind of cool ball with some grooves in it. The dogs, again, they love to chase, and we took them out to the lot, and we just threw the ball around in this big wide open area. And it was great, because even after the 3.5 mile walk, we got them back, and they were still like, once we released them from our commands of walking, they were like just running and chasing after each other. Like, gosh, you guys still have so much energy after 3.5 miles. That's really impressive. And it's also disheartening. But so whatever, they ran around and chased and wore each other out. But then we took some balls out. We took some tennis balls. We took this big ball, and we were throwing it around, and we really tuckered them out. It was great. It was fantastic. And so, but then it wasn't as good of a workout for us. So I think I'm going to find some sort of a counterbalance, right, where we do a walk and we do some ball throwing and stuff. So that way they get I get my good walk in, and they get their they get their kind of like sprints, right? So we're getting that slow, long distance kind of marathon style, and we're getting our our fast twitch muscle focus and the sprint stuff. But yeah, so I got out to the gym and I cranked the heat on and everything was great, grand, and glorious. And I was doing the weight training and stuff, like I was saying, the upper body stuff, and that was really good. Like I've just expanded my kind of regimen by 2. So what used to take me about 15-20 minutes of dedicated lifting time, I know, not very much, but I tell you what, it did me great, especially when I was going from being very out of shape. That was a really good, that mixed in with steam room. And so now, I'm blessed enough to have a sauna. And so I did, but now I've expanded the working out we do. It's about 35, 45 minutes of lifting. And then it was great. And there was actually, I was benching, I was pushing, and I put enough on there where I can't get to 10 repetitions of bench pressing. Like, I'll do 3 sets, I'll do 10 reps, but I'll try to do 10. So the first one, it's usually like a bell curve, right? So it'll be like the first set will be like 8 or 9, and then the second one will be 10, and then the third one will be like somewhere between 5 and 8. And this is because I'm getting back into the swing of it. I used to do more weight than I'm doing now and be able to do 3 sets of 10. I'm working my way back there. But so this time I was working and I felt great. I did like 9 on the first one. I did 10 on the second one. And then on the third one, I was like, I got this. And then I got to 5 and I was like, ooh, I got the burn, but I can get one more. I can get one more. And I tell you what, couldn't get one more. And I thought it was so funny too. It's this one of these things where like the thoroughness of the preparation actually came to bite me in the butt. So normally I won't even clasp the weights, the physical weights onto the bar. I'll just throw the weights on loose and then I'll just lift. But this day I was like, I'm trying to be more diligent about everything that I'm doing, right? In every aspect. So I figure the more I do it in any area, the more it'll kind of continue to carry over. Or just think about being diligent more throughout the day, right? That's kind of like my own internal strategy, testing it out. And so with this, I was like, well, instead of just throwing on, I'm gonna do everything all the way through. So I'm actually gonna grab the little weight locker things and put them on the end of the bar and lock them in, so that way the weights can't fall off. Well, I'll tell you what, I would have really wished that I hadn't put them on because I couldn't get it up the 6th time. And so it was definitely one of the things where I went up and I was like, nope, it's going down. And it went down and I was like trying to lean it over. And then normally the weights would just slide off of one side. And I'm like, okay, now I can get it. So then it was much more like getting myself out from underneath it. I know, not my best moment. But that's one of the things that I think is important is, one, being able to be honest and be vulnerable in a way, but also just understand that, like, we're all just trying, and I think that it's important to be able to look at stuff like that, especially when nothing bad happens, and to know, like, 1, I'm not going to do that again. 2, like if I try to push that hard, I'm going to make sure that Yasmin's there, somebody else is there with me, and 3, I think that it's just important to be able to laugh at yourself, when you get silly. It's important for you to be able to take some fun comments and criticisms and just to be able to look at yourself and be able to laugh, because if you take yourself too seriously, like, it's not beneficial for anyone. There's no health gains from that, and really I think most of that comes from a place of insecurity anyway. And so probably the less able you are, and probably the reason I'm able to laugh at myself out there is because I am confident in that area of my life, in my gym time, working out. And not to say that I'm anything special, because I'm not, but I do it enough and I'm comfortable enough with myself out there where it's cool. And so I can laugh at myself when I do silly crap like that. But anyway, so after all of this, I get my good double kind of twice expanded workout in, and then I get into the sauna. And what I try to do in the sauna is I'll actually bring in like a speaker, I'll bring in headphones or whatever, for the first half of the session. In the second half of the session, I'll listen to, most likely it's going to be a podcast. It might be an audiobook. Those are the two most likely. I do like some meditation music while I'm in there as well. But no matter what, I try to make it so that when I'm into the second half of the sauna session, will always be like a disciplined, no input, because I understand that's one of the things that I need to work on as well, is that I need to work on the constant stimulus, right? Because I'm always doing that. I always got something playing. It's hard for me to deal with silence, and it's funny because it's like when I get into the bends where I get really bad into it, I can tell that it's harder. Like, I can go shorter and shorter periods of time. Like, if there's a pause between a show, even like podcast to podcast, and it's like, I'm like, oh, I gotta go. Like, I can't take it. And I'm in one of those right now, and it's really bad. so yesterday, I think it was, maybe it was the day before, it was really important to me that I got the second half, and I decided to do a full 60 minutes in the sauna, and I had it cranked up to, at that time, about where it maxes out, and it was like, it maxed out like 150, but I can never actually get it to hit 150, so I was at like, I never dropped below 143, which is the hottest that sauna gets, really, 143, 145. So I was in there, and I did my first half super easy, about 30 minutes. I will say asterisk on this time. I did not stay in for full 60 minutes. I had to leave because I really had to pee. So I left. I did that for, as long as that takes outside, because we live in the backwoods, so I didn't need to go run inside or anything. Benefits to living in the backwoods of Indiana. And then, so then I went and ran back in, and it was about just under half an hour left, and I remember a long time ago, before I even joined the Army. So this was at the most recent. This would have been 2008-ish, early 2009, but really it was probably like 2007 when my cousin actually introduced me to this breathing technique. I think he might have called it prana. I don't know if that was even right at the time or if it's right now. It's probably not. But because my cousin's crazy. I love him, and he's crazy. And I'm down to do a bunch of crazy stuff with him. It's attributing sources, probably not like the guy that you lean to. But basically the strategy is you inhale for 7 seconds, you hold at the top end with your diaphragm, ideally full of air for 4 seconds, you exhale, and so that when I inhale, I try to do it solely through my nose, and then I hold, and I try to make sure that so let's see if I can kind of demonstrate this a little bit. So I'd be sitting, and I was kind of sitting. This is somewhat similar. I tried to do different versions of kind of Indian style, legs up, the yoga kind of sitting, and then like hands on the knees, hands on the side. What ended up being the most comfortable for me was a combination of laying down on my back and then just sitting upright and just being able to use the back of the sauna to actually support my back, because my posture's awful. If you guys can't tell when you watch the show. But yeah, so I'm in there, and so I inhale through the nose 7 seconds, and then I hold at the top, and I try to keep it so I try to push out the stomach, and that's the way that you kind of know that you're breathing diaphragmatically, if that's a word. So I try to breathe in, hold it for 4 seconds, and then I exhale for 7 seconds, and then hold it at the bottom for 4 seconds, and then continue to cycle through. And so and then doing this is it's cool because it really gives you, it's, for me, it's challenging to like keep the focus on, and really to keep the pattern, because I'll like to push, and really what I do is like I've kind of gotten to the point where I don't count anymore, and I just try to breathe in through my nose when I'm breathing in as slowly and as long as I possibly can. And then I try to, and then the way that I did this wrong in the beginning on this session is that I tried to hold it as long as I could. And then I tried to exhale as slowly as I could. And then I tried to hold that as long as I could. And I quickly, after like 2 repetitions of that, it's like, it was not sustainable. So I had to reduce the holds. And so I dropped those down to like 7. And then those, so it was mine was more like a 7, 7, 7, 7. And then it shifted to, more back to like the 7-4, 7-4, lather, rinse, repeat. But the real challenge here was trying to get to the end of the sauna session without looking at the time. That was like the challenge that I'd set out for myself. I'm like, okay, I want to, even if I mess up the breathing, I don't care. Like, that's not the point. The point is to continue to attempt to do this without losing the discipline and the focus enough where I want to look at the time. And that's such a challenging thing to do. It's one, it would be challenging to do without the heat. If you just threw a timer on and you just did that breathing exercise, try doing that for like 30 minutes and see what happens. I bet you it'll be difficult. I'm actually curious. I can tell you how difficult it was for me in the sauna. It was really, it's really great because it helps to take your mind off of the fact that you're sitting there in silence, especially for me, like over stimulus guy. And so this was a good way to kind of challenge that mind and to break that cycle. And so I did that, and it was good. I can say this now because I can say just from outright, I made it. I made it all the way to the end. But I'll tell you what, I didn't know it at the time, but once I hit like kind of like the last 5 minutes, was it a mental struggle. Like, there was a couple of points in there where it was a physical struggle when it was hot and I was sweating, but I love that. I love that struggle. That's not really too difficult for me. Mine is way more of the mind stuff, like in just staying disciplined kind of mentally to not look at the time. And I was like, I don't care if you think about the time. I don't care if you're complaining mentally about the time. But really, with that type of breathing exercise, there wasn't much room for thinking about it, other than the fact that like I just wanted to know how much time was left. And it was a struggle. And I'll tell you what was really interesting, a thought that came to me while I was doing it, especially because there was one time in particular while I was in the process of going through these breathing rhythms, where it really let me know kind of how vulnerable I am as a human being. Like, you kind of lose sight. So on a normal basis, like, we all know that we are mortal, right? We all know that we're going to die, but we have a hard time putting that into perspective, which is why you hear the stories of the people who have kind of like a near-death experience and then their life changes, because they realize they don't just understand conceptually that they're going to die, that they understand that like they were right there, and there was so much left on the table for them to do that they haven't done, and it changes their life. And so they take massive action to go do that. And it's hard for us because while we know it, and that's the importance of real world experience and real world struggle, is that while we can understand a lot of things philosophically and conceptually, it's really different to get your hands dirty, right? To get that real life experience that really changes you. It's a whole different ballgame. And for me, this was a really interesting thing that happened in there that wasn't anything remotely close to a near-death experience. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that it reminded, like, I lost control of my breath, and I just realized, I was like, God, you have to breathe all day long. Like, and you hear that, and conceptually you know it. But for me, this was like the getting my hands dirty of breathing, because I got so intimate with breath that it was like, when I held it, it was like when it was going in, like you just start to pay attention to everything that's happening, all the sensations and where the air is going and how it's filling up, and if I'm using my lungs or if I'm using my diaphragm, and then what the feeling is like when you're holding on to it, and then for me, like, I'm thinking about all these shows where, like, you watch people drown or whatever, and it's just like, God, like this has to work. Like, your breathing has to work every single time. And so there is also a sense of like gratitude for the functioning of my body, and what is happening. Like, I don't know. This is the best part, is that gratitude doesn't have to be like accurate. I guess you could say, like, it doesn't have to be like, my gratitude for breathing doesn't have to be biologically or anatomically correct. Like, I can be thinking about how the air goes into my lungs, and then I don't really understand what happens with, like, the capillaries and the stuff and the little bubbles and the expanding and everything. But I'm just picturing it going into my lungs and just, like, absorbing into these sacs, and then it somehow transferring into blood, and then the blood, like, feeling refreshed and going out into the body and transporting this oxygen everywhere, and the brain getting it. And then as I'm holding it, like, I'm envisioning, like, the oxygen's just, like, sitting there and being transformed into carbon dioxide, and just, like, looking for this path out. It's just, but, like, my unbelievable gratitude for how all of this works, even not knowing how it works, but just being grateful for the fact that it does. Regardless, it works regardless of how much I know or don't know about it. And that's pretty freaking cool, that I don't have to know anything about the way that my lungs transfer oxygen to carbon dioxide, and I dispose of the carbon dioxide and bring in more oxygen. It just does it. And so, like I said, this is like my near breath experience. How about that? I think I just found the name for the episode. And so, yeah, it was really powerful. It had a strong impact on me. And then it made me think about near-death experiences, because I did a lot of reading and studying on this. Right about the same time, actually, when I had learned about this breathing technique before I joined the Army many, many years ago. And it's always interested me. And then I was just thinking, like, okay, well, people have, profoundly changed their lives in the face of near-death experiences. Well, I just had a near-breath experience, and I wonder how, if I can use that, and definitely does not have the same kind of lasting impact that a near-death experience would, I assume. But what I've tried to do now is just ask myself, like, this has been, like, kind of my mantra going on for a couple of days, and I was like, are you focused? Are you focused? Are you focused? And that actually happened when I was working out, because I thought about, there was a point when I was working out, because the way I try to work out is, I don't sit there and do, like, bench press, break, bench press, break. I try to do it like a circuit. So I try to do, I will do a rep or a set on the bench press, and then I'll do, like, a tricep, and then I'll do a bicep, and then I'll do abs, and then I'll do a different chest, different tricep, different bicep type of exercise, and then do a quick water, and then do that again a couple more times. And so I try to do that, so that way it's like a constant elevation of, like, heart rate, and yeah, it's just, that's the way that I prefer to work out. And it's a lot faster too than sitting there and taking all these breaks in between. Then, like, those muscle groups are getting breaks, but my heart rate's staying up, and it feels great, and I love it. And I was thinking about it while I was doing it. I was like, right now you're really focused. Like, I had everything laid out. I had every kind of workout station set up so that I could just rotate there, one to another, to another, to another. And I was like, I'm focused. I was like, I want to have this level of focus on the show. And I want to have this level of focus on the training program that I'm creating. And I want to have this level of focus for my marriage. And I want to have this level of focus for like anything that I care about for my children. I want to have this level of focus, you know? And so it's now when I find myself kind of screwing off and doing things that I shouldn't, that aren't meeting the ends of those other things, that I try to just ask myself, and I've tried to do this kind of throughout the day, regardless of if what I'm doing is good or what I'm doing, or like when I say good, I mean, like, is it meeting the end of one of my goals? Like, is this feeding the fire of a goal of something that I really care about, or is it not? And so whether it is or not, whatever I'm doing, I just try to ask, like, in my head mentally, I'm like, are you focused? And for whatever reason, for me, that kind of works. I'm like, oh, you know, like, yes, you know, I am. And usually when I'm focused, I don't have to be. Usually that question will arise when I'm not focused. And so I'm like, oh, that's good. And so, like, now it's become this interesting thing where, like, I'll pull up my phone and I'll be doing something on it, and I'm like, are you focused? I'm like, no. Put the phone down. Back to work, you know? And so it's been really good, and I think that's great. And that's kind of like the moral, or I guess the thought that I wanted to pass on is, like, what is your I am focused? Do you have a mantra, or how do you get yourself out of the distractions, you know, and how can you incorporate a near breath experience in your life, you know? I sincerely challenge you to go out there and give the breath work a shot. You don't need to go do it in a sauna, or if you got a hot bath, you can pour yourself a hot bath and do it in there. And that would work. If you got a hot tub, rock that, you know. But if not, just do the breathing. Just and go ahead and give yourself a time. Set yourself like 5 minutes. Put a 5-minute timer and don't look. You know, you could start small. You don't have to be all crazy. I've been doing this for a while, and I've been doing the breathwork stuff for a while, so I'm familiar. But that was a challenge for me. The 30-minute thing was definitely a challenge, and so I encourage you, find a way to challenge yourself, and it doesn't need to be in breathwork, but like doing that. Finding ways to challenge and push yourself really does help. I really do believe it transfers, right, from one area of life to another. So even if you're pushing and challenging yourself in like a physical fitness area, I think that can help you on the professional side. I think it can help with the confidence and everything. But then, you know, really start to consider what you can do to small injections of the day. Think about if there is some sort of a mantra, or if there's something that you can put up, like a sticker or a sticky note that you could put up somewhere that's kind of like a reminder that's like, hey, are you focused? Are you focused? Are you on track with what it is that you want to be on track on? You know, and just see what that does. Just play around with this stuff and just see if it has an impact. That's all I'm saying. I continue to play around and mess with stuff, and as I find things that work, then those are the things that get incorporated into the training programs that I make. So if you're interested in those, then, you know, we'll talk more about that later, because they're just not available right now. So I gotta make them. So I gotta stay focused. But on that note, I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap it, because I think that's a good stopping place. I think that's, you know, I come here and we're gonna talk through ideas to the point where I feel like we've hit a point of completion, whether it takes an hour and a half, 2 hours, or in this case, like 33 minutes. So thank you so much for coming and spending some time here on Real Resilience with Matt LaStalia. I truly appreciate it. And, you know, if you did find value in this, please, you know, hit subscribe. We'd love to be able to see you here every single time that there's new content. Click the bell, and that way you'll be able to see that as well. If you're just listening on the audio side, please join us on YouTube, where the videos are, and then you get to experience, you know, this beautiful face too. So But truly, I appreciate you guys. Keep your head up and your eyes open. Always be looking out on the horizon for the opportunities, and give yourself that challenge. Figure out how you can push yourself a little bit more. But it is Friday, so I must say, just enjoy your Friday. We're getting ready to go into Thanksgiving week, which is a big week here, and I just want you guys to be safe. I want you to have an amazing time, and because I want to be able to see you here again next week for some more episodes on Real Resilience with Matt Lastalia. Thank you, guys.